You better say your prayers, you flea-bitten varmint. I'm gonna blow you to smithereens.
You do that and I'll kill you.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to another edition of the Bullshit with the Bob Show right here on Brutiful Metal Radio. We're finally on. I don't know what the deal is today. We're having exceptional glitchiness, but we are here. And I have Ravenlord, Csaba, who is the vocalist of Ravenlord, live from Spain via Skype. Welcome to the show, Csaba. Csaba, can you hear?
Hello, metalheads. Hello, America, and everybody who's tuned in. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine now.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Perfect. Hello, everybody. Hello, America, and hello, everybody in Europe who tuned in to this show.
Well, like I said, thank you for your patience with all the glitches that were going on. Now, we did listen to two Ravenlord songs. We listened to The Rebel and to Attila the Hun. And that is off of Ravenlord's new album. Let's see if I can find the name of it. Descent into the Underworld. Yeah, I just found it as soon as you were saying it. And I must say, man, some incredible music. I mean, you've got some great musicians on the album. And, you know, we were talking during all the glitches that what would be considered old school metal is really starting to come back, you know, with a fierceness. You know, the clean vocals and, you know, the very, you know, prog style music. It's all coming back. And I can't say enough how much I love what you guys are doing. It's incredible.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it is coming back, and the idea is to bring back the excitement from the, I don't want to say from the old days because that really sounds weird, but from the days when we actually fell in love with heavy metal originally, with all them bands back in the days, but without copycat them, you know, trying to create a new style with elements of those bands from the time that you know, when we started listening to these to this type of genre. And of course, with the modern technology, we get to get the listener even more excited about things because we got better production style, and things are just sounding way better than they used to
now,
like 20, 30 years ago.
Right. And, you know, now don't get me wrong, you know, I'm a metalhead. I love all forms of metal, you know, and I always bring this up every interview, and I wanted to get your take on this. You know, we were talking about this before also, how a lot of the younger generation, you know, they're doing their research. All these new and upcoming bands listen to, you know, the likes of early Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Dio, excuse me, Judas Priest, and they're doing their research. And I'm seeing more of this style coming back now, and it seems that the musicianship, you know, of these younger generation, they're pushing themselves more like we did back in the 80s. You know, musically. And what do you think about that?
I think that is true. Part of the reason is they realized that the songs were written differently and maybe better. Maybe better due to the fact that it makes more sense to the audience, you know? Mm-hmm. And you're like, when you listen to the big bands, then the songwriting is somewhat different than the modern bands where it's like really stuff in there that is also cool, but kind of confusing for a lot of new metalheads, I want to say, or people that are just starting to listen to this type of music, and it's maybe a little bit overwhelming for them. So they're switching back to like bands that are more common, I should say, or even, you know, when you go on a festival, that there's these big bands. Why? Why, I wonder? Why is always these big bands like Pink and Kiss and Black Sabbath? It's not because they've been around for so long. It's because they have great songs, you
Exactly.
know, and they're popular.
You know, you are so correct on that. A lot of these bands that they go back and listen to, the music is timeless. You know, now
Yes.
I always say that music is the soundtrack of life. You know, I can listen to a Judas Priest song or a Black Sabbath song, and it'll take me back to that time when I first heard it. You know, it has a memory attached to it. And a lot of these younger generations, you know, they're going to have that same thing. And you really, a lot of the music doesn't sound dated. You can't put a time on it, you know, especially for a fresh ear. You know, it's as valid today as it was 20, maybe even 30 years ago.
Right. And I believe also that due to the fact that some of these bands go out of business due to age, it is about time that there is newer artists who kind of fit this void, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where we're missing. We want this kind of stuff, you know. We want to listen to. We're craving this sound, and it's just not enough bands doing it. So you're like, I wish, God, I wish there would be something like this and this and that, but it doesn't exist due to the artist being gone, I mean, being dead or something like that, or they're just too old to perform, or you know, it's. I mean, this generation has comes and goes, and but not the actual genre of music that shouldn't, you know.
And you know, something else that gets me too. I want to get your take on this, Chaba. You remember how it was, you know, in the early to mid '90s, and even today it continues. How many subgenres there are in metal? I mean,
That's exactly right. Not many.
it's if you think about it. I mean, you know, back in the late '80s, early '90s, you started having death metal breaking away from thrash. You had black metal, and then you started getting the subgenres of those. You had the slam grind death, and prog,
Oh yeah.
and battle metal, and it keeps on going. I mean,
I mean, who can keep up with all this stuff?
that's what
I
I'm.
some
It's amazing, that people can think of all this, but at the end of the day, metalheads need to wake up and realize at the end of every subgenre, the word metal is there. Be a metalhead. Support all metal. And I mean, as long as people are out there, raising a finger to society, being rebels, that's what metal's about. It's the really the rock and roll mentality.
That's
And
right.
be a metalhead. Don't slam others because they don't listen to your type of metal. That's insane. Applaud them for listening to metal in all its beauty. Because I mean, every bit of it, is
Yeah, but
brutal. It and the best musicians are in metal. I mean, I don't care what other music you try to listen to, country, whatever. You're not going to get the same musicianship that is in metal. We push the limits of our instruments.
still, but the question is to you: can you put these some of these subgenres together? Like, can you put a thrash or a death metal band together on the same show with like a traditional classic metal guy? That is my question. You know.
Well, honestly, if you look at Vakken, they do it every year.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
a lot of these large festivals, you know, they'll have, you know, you may see on one stage, you'll see, oh God, you'll see like Carcass, and then maybe Dimmu Borgir, and then you'll see like Gravedigger,
Right.
and they'll be
On the
right
same.
after each other on the same stage. And I think it's a great thing. You know, I think Europe has a much better grasp of it than what we do here in the States because of that fact. Here in the States, a lot of these guys that put on festivals try to do it mainly for one genre. You're gonna have a death fest, or you have a pagan metal fest. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we really need to regroup over here in the U.S. and take a look at what Europe's doing. You know, on the metal level, and do something like that, an all-inclusive festival. Just, you know, 3 days, multiple stages, nothing but all the different types of metal you can get, and, you know, raise awareness. And, you know, maybe these kids that go and they think they're just a death metal guy may go in there and hear someone like, you know, Gravedigger and love them, or, you know, bring Manowar over, you know, different types of metal like that. You know, maybe something that they've never been exposed to, and it'll open minds up.
Sure.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about, you know, your band, of course, Ravenlord. You're like it's like a who's who of metal within the band, because you're ex Killing Machine, Sardonyx, and Emergency.
Right.
You've got Joe Stump on lead guitars from Holy Hell and Reign of Terror. George well, I'm gonna mess his name up.
Careful.
Carafotis. He's from Vermilion Days and Operation X. He's on guitar. Jamie Malander from the Tony Martin Band, who Tony Martin used to sing for Black Sabbath. He's on bass for you. You got Lawrence Larry Patterson. He's ex Blaze Bailey and Iron Knights on the drums. And Alessandro Duo from Voodoo Highway on keyboards.
Yes.
It's like an all-star band you have, man.
Well, yes and no. Well, I don't know if maybe it is. I'm flattered, to be honest with you, hearing that term, because you know it means a lot to me. Um, yeah, I wanted. I didn't want a garage band, you know, and start from scratch. I wanted people who can play, people who can hang, and mostly people who can go on tour with us, you know, because that's what we want to do. We want to go out there and play, and for that we need a vehicle, and that is the record. First, we need a record before anything, you know. But let me tell you one thing clear before we go any further. The guitars are not played by Joe Stump. It's a little bit of misconception because we have his picture on the CD. And that is due to the fact that we started work with a guy called Stefan Lindholm, and unfortunately it didn't work out. We had to let the guy go, and then changed over to Joe Stump. He then joined our ranks, but the record was already done. So I still want to confuse people saying that Joe Stump played on the record.
Okay. You know, and that happens. I got a friend of mine, his band he's from Vegas. They're in a thrash band called Avenger of Blood, and the similar thing happened. They recorded their second album, and they ended up losing their bass player and their guitar player vocalist, and they got some new guys in, and when they pressed the album, they put the new guys' pictures on there, and the same kind of confusion took place.
Yeah, you don't. Well, the thing exactly, and the reason why we did this is we didn't want to confuse the fans. We knew that some of the guys that were on the record are not going. They have family and kids and jobs. They will not be able to go on tour. And in particular, the keyboarder I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to put a picture there of somebody that is not going to be on tour with us in a band photo, and so that is the reason. And as far as the guitar player, we've had some issues with the guy. I mean, it is for a reason that he is no longer in the band. I mean, I swore to him not to badmouth him in front of the press and everything, but there were some issues, and we had to let the guy go. There was a fallout. And,
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
no problem. I mean, it's like they're all human beings, and everybody is an individual and has ideas and whatnot, and occasionally, individuals clash or something like that, And we did. He clashed with us, and we were all voting him out because he was just becoming a liability to us.
It's a shame when that happens, but it's, as they say, it's rock and roll.
The show must go on.
The show must go on. You're right.
That's right. We still, we want the record out. We want to get on tour. So you have to do what you got to do. You have to find somebody else. And in our case, we were very lucky with Joe Stump because he's very well known. He is an upgrade to things. I mean, the second record will be with Joe Stump, and it will be fantastic. We've been already starting to work on some new material, so down the line. But that's pretty much the reason we didn't want to confuse the fans with too many faces.
I tell you, I'm familiar with Joe Stump and with Holy Hell and Reign of Terror, and the guy is an absolute beast on guitar.
Oh yeah.
And from friends of mine that know him, they say that he's just a great guy, down to earth, and he works well within a group. So I think you did an outstanding job of picking up someone that's going to be with you for the long haul.
Yes, he is exactly what you say. But also, I'd like to mention something special about him. There's a lot of guitar players who just play fast notes on an existing harmony or existing chord progression. Mm-hmm. And the special thing about Stump is that he knows exactly every single note that he's playing. There is nothing arbitrary in his playing or random. Everything is well thought through and can be explained anytime, and that is special because he has this background of being a musical teacher in in Boston, where he is a guitar teacher. So he knows the stuff, He's not just some guy who just let me just play something, I mean, who wants that?
Right.
It might sound good, but that's not music. Music is nothing random. That's what I say.
Yeah, music should not be random. It should be something that's everything. Every note should have a meaning to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Now, what was the songwriting process like for Descent?
Mm-hmm. I had very clear ideas on what I wanted to do, and for that, I was in the lookout for a very well guitar player in the beginning, and I met a couple of guys from Sweden. They then introduced me to Stefan Lindholm, who's playing the actual record, and things were going actually pretty good because he's very talented. Obviously, you can hear he's playing like a god. But the problem is he was a progressive metal guy, and it took me a lot of time to talk to him and explain him what I wanted. And occasionally, he would say stuff like, "Oh, that's too boring," or "That's too predictable," and I would say, that's exactly how I want it, because just do what I say, and occasionally I would even play it for him because he would just be too progressive and too kind of weird, which I didn't want. I didn't want to make a progressive record, so it took a lot of that to explain it to him, and also to trim songs to the necessary length. It would be way too long. It would be sometimes occasionally too long in the instrumental or solo section. I think it's still kind of sometimes a little bit too long, especially the solos. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. And but I would like compact songs, meaning I like to get to the bottom of it really quick, to the chorus, bam, 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 here it is. It's more like a fist in your face, and here's the song. I don't like to screw around too long until you get to the climax of the song, you know.
Right.
So that was my thing, and I wanted specific elements too. I wanted to create a specific mood of the Descent to the Underworld thing that had that flair of I don't want to say vintage because that would really sound old, but from the old days, you know, like Dio and Sabbath and all the stuff that you can hear. I wanted to have a blend and put everything in a blender and just mix it and have here. This is it. This is Ravenlord. And most of all, what I wanted is it had to come natural for me. It had to. I didn't want to experiment, reinvent the wheel, or try to find new things. I wanted to do what I can do the best, and I think I really achieved that because I'm still surprised with what came out, and it came out so easy, you know.
You know, the album is, like I said, is absolutely astounding. I really love the musicianship involved, the songwriting. It's all there. You can tell that it was a deliberate, you know, writing process, but it wasn't. It don't sound like a forced writing process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does flow very naturally, and you know, everything I've heard from beginning to end, it just totally kicks ass. And I love what you did on it, and I'm glad that you stuck by your guns and, you know, made what you wanted to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, it wasn't easy. It wasn't always easy to coordinate or to control things the way you want it. And occasionally it didn't work either, even though you're trying to desperately to control it. But I think overall I really did what I wanted to do, and I made my point with this, and it turned out really, really good. But the most important thing is also we have to realize one thing. Music is one thing, but if you look at the record, the logo, the band logo, the picture, the artwork, everything, you know, I mean, the whole product is not just the music, it's everything.
It's a total package.
From A to Z. It's a total package. And people people don't realize that they always think, oh, Csaba did all this record. I didn't. I would never be able to do this all by myself. There's all kinds of web designers, graphic designers, especially my manager, Axel Wiesenauer from Rock and Roll, who is my close friend and advisor in all these things. And I listen to him very much on what he has to say because his judgment is very important to me. So these are these people who are actually influencing the product, you know.
And it's always good too. You know, when you mentioned Axel, it's always good to have someone that you can bounce ideas off of like that.
Yes.
You know, because you get that outside. You know, I'm a musician myself, and any band I'm in, I'm usually one of the primary songwriters. It's just anytime I pick up a guitar, a riff comes out. It never fails. You know, I always write something when I pick up a guitar, and so I have tons and tons and tons of riffs. But you know, I always have like my wife Buffy. She's been in, you know, the music biz for a number of years and has a great ear, and I'll play something for her, and or one of my good friends. You know, I've got a bunch of them that I grew up with here in Louisiana where we're at, and we all were in the little garage bands and all that back when. And I can say, how does this riff sound? And oh man, maybe if you added, you know, if you chop this riff in half, or you're playing too much. They'll give me these different ideas, or
Exactly.
change that E maybe to a G or something. And don't play so fast, or whatever little tidbit I may be missing, they can throw that in there, and it'll change it just enough to where it sounds a whole lot better and give me a different idea on where to go. And it's always good to have someone to bounce your ideas off of, I think.
Yeah, but you have to be open to this, and you have to trust the person who's doing this with, because a lot of musicians, they think they're the shit, and they think you can't tell me anything, and that is the big problem, not being free of being judged or being criticized. You need to be able to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you try this or that? Even from bandmates, you have to be open to criticism from others.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I agree with you. A lot of musicians get very close-minded, and it's my way or no way.
Yeah, that's
And
what I.
that is so sad, because when you start closing your mind, the music is going to suffer.
Exactly, the music and the whole product, because you're just stubborn and stuck in your own little world that nobody really wants,
And the more open you are, the better the product will be.
That's right. That's right. And also hand out things like let others do their job. I mean, you cannot possibly control the outcome of every single thing. You have to let. There's a lot of musicians, or I should say, band leaders out there that are trying to control every single note, and I think that's really horrible, because that's not very natural. You would not want to be in a band where you're being told this is your score. At least not in a heavy metal band, because just the four or five or six of us in a band, and they're all stars, or they're all something special. It's not like, here's your score, and this is we're in an orchestra, and this is what you need to play.
And as an example of that, let's look back at Rainbow. When things started going south. Well, hell, even Deep Purple. Richie Blackmore fighting with Ian Gillan on stage, and they were both fighting for control and all this, and the music suffered, the shows suffered, everything. You just can't have that.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be on the same page, and otherwise you're just going to have a bad product.
Yeah, you see, you as a band leader, you also have the responsibility towards the labels and towards the industry to keep things together. They're going to invest in your record, put it out there, and they trust you that you have the ability to get the right musicians in a band. Number one, to work their issues out. Number two, because they're all humans and have their issues. Number three, to they trust in you, and you have to be just to that, and that's not sometimes it's not really easy, because you have to say, okay, you know what, you're jeopardizing all our work, you're jeopardizing everybody's 18 months. We have to let you go, because you're becoming a liability, and that's when you have to call the shots,
Right. Yeah, that's where you got to separate, because sometimes
separated, yeah.
you got to separate the professional side from a friendship side. Sometimes, if you're in a band, your best friend will be in the band with you, and they become a liability, and that's where the professional side and the friendship side has to be split, and you got to tell the guy, sorry, but in order for this business to move forward, and that's the way you got to look at it. It's a business.
It is.
I mean, as much as it's fun to play and go out there and play shows and record and put CDs out, it is a business. and you got to take care of that business. If a friend becomes a liability, you got, hey, I'm sorry, man, but you're out. And
yeah, because thinking of this, I mean, it's a year or 2 years that you're spending on doing something, and then it can be just shattered just in one day by someone. So you have to be really careful who make the wise choices, not to ruin everything for you,
Right.
because then you just lost 2 years,
now let's see, y'all are signed actually to Mausoleum Records.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of relationship do you have with the record label? Is it pretty good?
Very good. Usually, artists don't interact with labels. They maybe sign the contract and then that's it. Usually, it's always buffered with the manager.
Right.
Your representative in between is buffering everything, because labels usually don't want to talk with the crazy musician, and it's just they want to talk with the business guy, and manager is another business person, and the manager then talks to the band, and that's how you get a deal, by the way, too. Not by directly contacting the labels. I mean, that would never work. I mean, it didn't work for me, I should say. You have to just back to your question about Mausoleum Records. We had some issues with this Stefan Lindholm guy, the guitar player. He was, after we fired him, he was threatening our label.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not, he was really going crazy. He was threatening our label. He said he was trying to extort money. He was saying in an email that he wants 5,000 euros, or he will upload the Ravenlord material from what he's got onto these illegal websites where you can download these songs, And we were like, holy moly, what the hell is going on? What is this guy up to? So we were like, wow. So then he calls me and says, hey, what's going on? Is this guy nuts or what? And then I explained it to him. And so I did talk to the label boss from Mausoleum, and yeah, we became friends under these crazy circumstances, But usually you don't have a relationship with the label. I mean, maybe if you're a bigger band and then they invite you or whatnot, but in the beginning, usually you don't really.
Right. Your manager will talk to the AR rep,
Exactly.
the artist relations, and they'll go and they'll pass the info back and forth until everything's agreed upon and contracts are signed and the deal's made.
By the way, the same thing goes to booking and bands. I mean, the promoters of a festival or something, they don't want to deal with the bands. That they'd rather talk to a booking agent, because it's just so much easier to talk to one guy and not to a band. I mean, who is a band? It might be 6 of them, might be 4 of them. They don't know, and that might change, So they just want one representative who handles the band, so to speak.
Right. Now, speaking of, are you guys on getting ready to tour?
Yes. The record just came out February, and with you guys in the States, came out a little bit later on the 12th. Just came out. It doesn't give us enough time to present it like, okay, check this out. We got this record, because this is also a new band. But we did get confirmed for a bigger festival. Well, actually a very big one. It's called the Armine Metal Fest in Tongeren in Belgium, playing alongside with Hell, Symphony X,
Wow.
and Rhapsody of Fire, being the headliners there, and then many other bands, of course. And we're playing Saturday on the main stage, Saturday the 22nd of June. And after that, we are planning some shows and some more festivals, but it will turn out. There's still time to schedule all that stuff and to be confirmed. We really hope that we will get confirmed for at least a few more festivals this year, so we can present it in different countries of Europe, away from, you know, maybe away from Belgium in another country. So kind of like spread out. But we will continue to the Netherlands, play a few shows there that have been confirmed, and then eventually expand into the UK, and then come back and hopefully go a little south, like Germany, Switzerland, and possibly Italy. We're in talks with some Italian booking agents that we might play a few shows there. We'll have to see. We'll have to play it by ear. As I said, the record just came out and it's fresh, so people don't even know it exists, you know. So we have to build up some type of a momentum first before people are going to say, "Oh yeah, I know this band. Oh yeah, I want to go see them." It's not like that at this stage of the band. You know, it's pretty new.
Right. You gotta build that buzz up about the band.
Right.
Now, with what I've heard of the album, I'm telling you, you guys are probably going to explode, because music, like I can't say it enough. It's excellent music. It's very, very good album, and we're going to do our part as far as spreading over here. And now, whenever you start getting dates as far as, you know, festivals and things like that, and get your tour dates together, let us know.
Okay.
Because we'll definitely push it out for you. You know, that won't be a problem at all.
I really appreciate that. That is great.
Well, we have a lot of friends over in Europe, and
Sure.
We'll make them aware.
Fantastic. Thank you for the support.
Oh man, that's what we're here for. You know, we carry the battle flag of metal, and it's not just any one type of metal. It is metal, and
Yeah.
you know, that's something I want to talk to you about. Also, was the metal scene in Europe. You know, like I told you before, I was stationed in Germany with the U.S. Army for 4.5 years, and I absolutely loved my time in Europe. In fact, I miss it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get back there one of these days. But
You should.
oh, believe me, I will. Buffy, my wife, she's never been to Europe, and I'm gonna bring her. I've got friends that still live in Europe, and I want to go visit them, and we're gonna go. But you know, my time in Europe, I went and seen so many great shows, and you know, it was. Let's see, I went to Rock am Ring, Rockin' Park. I didn't know about Wacken at the time, otherwise I'd have went to that one. The Heidelberg Metal Fest, that was in 2000. But God, that was 13 years ago. Wow. But there was always a metal concert, and metal is still, you know, the way it was in the U.S. back in the 80s, it's still like that in Europe. You see people wearing their leather, their spikes, you know, their jackets patched up. I mean, you still see that on a small scale here in the U.S., but it's not like it is in Europe. I mean, people are still very, very passionate about metal in Europe, and I think it's so great. When I went to the Mannheim Metal Fest, it was what was it, 6-7 bands, and let's see, it was a band called Dirty Deeds, which is more straight ahead, what I call like party rock and roll metal. After them was Spiritual Beggars, which is Michael Amott from Arch Enemy and Carcass. That's his stoner metal band, and they were excellent. That's the first time I ever experienced them, and absolutely loved them from the moment they hit the stage. I didn't even know it was Michael Amott till I got up by the stage, and I was like, damn, that's Michael Amott. You know, he's not playing with Carcass or Arch Enemy right now, but you know, he's doing some great stuff. Then it was Nashville Pussy, which is kind of like an AC/DC style band. Then it was Motorhead. then Dream Theater, Slayer, and Iron Maiden. And I thought it was so great how they mixed these forms of metal together. It was a great festival. I mean, the place was packed. It was an old airport hangar, and it was just, I couldn't tell you how many metalheads were in there, but it was just shoulder to shoulder the whole time. You know, and I wish we would have something like that over here in the U.S., but...
Well, what about the Ozfest and Lollapalooza and stuff like that?
Well, Lollapalooza has always been more of your like alternative and radio friendly bands. It's not really, you know, your underground or not radio friendly bands.
What about the stuff that is in the desert in California? Like Burning Man or something like that, or isn't that isn't a festival, I believe? Yeah, it is.
That one I don't think I'm familiar with.
There's a couple of things in Southern California, I believe. Smaller ones too.
Now they're with Ozfest. You know, whenever Ozzy does put one on, it's I don't know. It's usually a good mix. You know, you got a few underground bands that'll be there, and but I don't know, with Sharon Osbourne kind of controlling everything, it's kind of pick and choose, and you know, it's like I said, it's not really put together like it would be in Europe.
Yeah. Besides that, we have so many on this small little continent. I mean, small compared to the U.S. There's like, I don't know how many festivals, one after another. That's why all these festival promoters are saying, yeah, you can play here, but then please don't play next week over there. You know, they want the exclusivity, meaning you can play here, but do not play in this country, because the country is like, I don't know how many square kilometers, you know?
Right.
So they're like afraid that the fans are going to say, okay, you know what, I don't have time today to go on this festival because I got something to do. I will catch up with them and see them next week on the other festival, which is just 100 kilometers. I should talk in miles so you guys understand. A couple of miles over there, you know.
Right.
So they're not going to see the band here, so they're afraid to do that. And so what they do is they spread them out. You can play here, and then you can play on the other side of Europe, you know.
Yeah, well, and I've dealt with promoters, you know, back when I was playing regularly, that would, when you sign a contract to play a show, it would be in almost like that, like an exclusivity, but it would be like, especially in, you know, the wife and I lived in Las Vegas for a few years after Hurricane Katrina, and we played quite a few shows in Vegas, and there was one promoter in particular, when you sign a contract with her, you couldn't play 8 days before or 8 days after, you know, in Vegas anywhere, if you signed her contract. Unless she had another show going and she wanted you on that bill. And I thought that sucked, because, you know, you couldn't have, like, one weekend you're going to play at one place, and then the next weekend you're going to play somewhere else across the street. You couldn't do that, because that's within that 8 days.
But it does make sense, because, you know, the promoter also takes a risk by hiring the band. And if the band, you know, they have to set up all this infrastructure and whatnot, and if you're playing around their gig, also smaller shows or bigger shows, it doesn't matter. They don't want that. That's understandable. That they want the somewhat of exclusivity for the band, you know.
Right. And you know, I understand that. It just, you know, from a band's perspective, it kind of sucks, because you know how it is. Sometimes a gig may just fall in your lap. Someone back out, and hey, we need someone. Can you guys do it? And you know, that's money that's coming out of your own pocket to pay bills.
Yeah, but then you have to make priorities and say, what is more important? Is it this or that one?
True.
And you just have to choose, unfortunately. you know.
And then another thing too, you got to look at, also from a band perspective, is you don't want to oversaturate an area. You don't want to play every weekend at the same place, because then people get bored listening to the music. They get used to it. Oh, they're going to be playing there again next week, and I'll miss this show, and I may see them the following weekend.
That's right.
Right. So you don't really want to oversaturate a market.
Exactly, or a region.
Correct. Now, you were telling me that originally you're from Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
And you basically, like in your own words, you said you're a nomad.
Yeah.
You've lived in the U.S. And you're currently in Spain.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at the hometown. It says USA, UK, Spain, Greece, Italy, and Germany. That's a wide area of a hometown.
Where do you read that?
I'm at your Facebook page, the Ravenlord band page.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and that's because all these band members are from all over Europe. Meaning, Joe Stump is an American. He's U.S. Then Larry Patterson is actually he comes from New Zealand, but he lives in London, so that's UK. The same goes to Jamie. He lives in Sheffield, and they're he is UK. But then Alessandro Duo, he lives in Italy, and and for myself, I don't know what I should put in there. It's sometimes really difficult to say, am I now Spanish or am I Swiss? Because I'm a Swiss citizen. Am I now a Swiss considered or American because I lived there for so long, or am I Hungarian because my first name is Hungarian? I know I'm no longer I know I'm not Serbian because I was never Serbian. I was just born in Serbia. I was just a Hungarian, Croatian minority in Serbia, right on the border. So I'm not even that. So that's really a good question of the identity of what that is exactly is, and I can't really tell you.
Well,
I'm everywhere.
I think it's really representative that you have a global band.
Yes.
And you have members from everywhere.
That was the idea, the idea was to not have like friends and well, we're friends obviously, but not like I grew up with this guy and I've known him for 20 years and let's just make a band, that kind of. No, I wanted hand-picked players that I thought would fit into this Ravenlord band where people say, yeah, that's Ravenlord. These are the guys, and that's it, And it wasn't sometimes it's not easy to do the matchmaker thing, that say, okay, I need this puzzle here. Do you think that fits? Yeah, it might. So you have to evaluate. And I also do that a lot with my manager because he's really good at that. He knows all the players and makes recommendations. And then I look at the player and say, you know what? Yeah, I think that's the guy. Let's just contact him and let's see if he's up to it and let's see if he's interested in doing it. So that's how everything started, because after Killing Machine, which was also a international band of some sort, they moved. Peter Scheithauer moved to France. He's a French guy, lived in Tennessee. He moved back to Europe due to the fact that there's more festivals, and we were able to play more festivals and play more shows with Killing Machine. And it's and opening up for AC/DC and stuff like that. You don't have these opportunities in the States. You have a lot of other opportunities, but more smaller shows. And traveling in the U.S. is so vast. These spaces are. You would be traveling a day for the next gig. You know, it's a big country. You know, the U.S. is really, really big in that regard. To just say, hey, yeah, let's do a tour. That needs to be really planned very well, or or it can turn out to be a nightmare.
You know, back in my earlier days when we used to do what was called dartboard touring, and it was kind of like, you know, we always call it dartboard because it's like putting a dartboard on the wall and throwing a dart, and you may hit on one side, and then you throw a dart again, you may hit on the other side. And that's kind of how it was when we toured, because we'd overlap quite a bit just because of the way the gigs lined up. And it is a lot of travel. You know, it'll wear you out, because you may play a gig in one state, and then you go to the next state. You know, maybe 300-400 miles. You know, that would be, you know, what, maybe like a.
But don't misunderstand me. It's got to be done. And even, I think, even worse or even more complicated is something like a South America tour, where you actually have to fly to the venue. You know,
right?
Because they're just so spread out. You know that you're one day you're in Sao Paulo, and then the next day you're in Argentina or whatnot, and you can't possibly take the nightliner and travel 6 days through the Amazon jungle. You know, that's just impossible. So you would have to fly. But again, that's different logistics. But yeah, it's, you know, it has to be done. I'm not saying, you know, it's good or bad. It's just different. You know, Europe is so much easier to tour, I believe. More opportunity. You know,
It is. You know, whenever we would travel, just for an example, sometimes on the weekend, I was stationed in an area called Bamberg, Germany, which was a little bit north. I think it was about 70 kilometers north of Nuremberg. And on the weekends, you know, we would get, you know, released to do whatever we wanted to. And sometimes we'd rent a car and we'd go up to, say, Amsterdam, or, you know, we'd take off to Paris. And, you know, Amsterdam in Holland was 6 hours away from us. You know, to go to Paris was, I think, 8 hours. It wasn't that long, you know. And here in the U.S., you know, the wife and I were living in Alabama until recently. And it just to travel from Alabama back to Louisiana, which is only a few states, was, you know, 6 hours.
sure.
And, you know, it's, when you look at it, I mean, you can go from one country to the next just within a few hours in Europe. Whereas, you know, if we wanted to go and visit my mother-in-law, for instance, in Las Vegas, that's going to take a day. It's 24 hours to drive to Las Vegas, you know. And between you and me, I would much rather drive it than fly. I don't care for airports and flying anymore.
I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way.
You know,
I really don't appreciate flying that much.
I really don't care for it, especially with all the security you have to go through nowadays. It's, you know, it's just it's a pain.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. Get back over here. Now, talk to me about the recording process. Did it go pretty smooth?
Yes and no. In the beginning, it did, and then suddenly there was a blockage or kind of like a lack of interest from Stefan. He would just, you know, goof off during the summer and whatnot and do his thing. And at one point I thought, okay, the project is done, we're done. He's not going to be able to focus. But then we found a producer, Frederick Nordstrom, and he had a slot for the mix down, and that's what energized everything again. He then was motivated, and he started working with me again. But to be honest, from the whole 18 months that we worked, it was maybe, if you swoosh it together, it was maybe a month of work.
Oh,
It
wow.
could have been done in a month. Yeah, if you really focused. And so it was all just, and the sad thing about everything was the last minute and the dollar short. I really hate that. You know, I really, really don't appreciate playing solos, recording solos on the night before you're supposed to submit your tracks to the producer. It really made me nervous. It really made me think. And it really made me believe that this was a bad choice having this guy on board. And it just barely made it. And it just, I don't want to go through that stress of, is it going to be enough? I mean, the production was paid, and the guy is a professional, Fredrik Nordström. He's a well-known producer in Sweden. And you can't just say, you know what, I'm not ready yet. The slot was booked, and we were lucky to have that. And he's a, you know, he was full the rest of the year. That was just this little slot, and then that's it. If you pass it, then you got your record. You can wait another year. I didn't want that, so I was really, really stressing about that. The other thing was the dollar short. You know, saying, hey, you knew about this and that, and we agreed to this and that, and then suddenly I don't have any money and this, and then I'm like, okay, well then great, then somebody has to pay the bill, and then at the end of the day it would have been me again. So that's exactly what happened, and we were like, okay, now we get this done, great, but how are we gonna go on tour with this guy if he's that flaky, you know?
Right.
And it was really scary because he was dishonest with us. He lied to us, telling us that the producer didn't want to see us in the studio and we should not come to Göteborg. And as he was Swedish and he was talking to the guy, to the Swedish producer guy. And then I canceled my flight thinking, okay, this producer guy, he wants his time. He submitted all my vocal files. I submitted all my files. And it's going to be okay. He's going to do. He doesn't want to see the band. That's fine if he wants to work. It was nothing like that. It was nothing like that at all. It was just a trick to get us so we're not going to be there, because he wanted to go up there all by himself, and he did. And when I called Monday, he was already in the studio, you know. So we were like, wow. We felt really betrayed, and we were like, wow, what's going on? So we told the producer to not hand out anything to him and not to listen to any corrections and that kind of stuff, because we didn't want his influence or anything. So that's when he really got pissed off and saying, you know, you can't tell me shit. I can take this product anytime I want and use it with my other band. I will replace vocals. I will replace bass lines. I will replace the whole band, and I will put it out in with another name. That's when we said, okay, now what are we going to do? This guy completely went nuts on us, you know. So then I spoke to the producer and say, hey, you know what? He's not allowed to have anything. We're paying for this, and he's not allowed to have any masters. So he went back to Stockholm, and we were fighting ever since. And that's when the whole fallout happened,
Wow.
and that's, you know, what initiated the whole breakup with him. But it would have been actually, it would have been really good, because in the very first beginning, it was really looking good. It sounded good. I was happy with everything. It was a great guitar player, and things were really, really going good. But at the end, he was really, really. Put it this way: in the beginning, he didn't like the product and the idea that I had. You know, he was not convinced that this would have anything successful or anything would happen with it. But when he sat in that studio, he knew that this was going to be a good product. And he fell in love with this product and he wanted it so much for himself. And he kept talking about me, and about his songs and his music. And we were looking at each other and saying, what is he talking about with me and my music? So then that's when he was trying to get more percentage and whatnot, and the whole problem started from there, you know. And then we were like, well, we're not gonna have anybody extort us, blackmail us, or threaten us. And so and then you know, it's really sad and very dramatic, but that's just the way it went. And ever since he left, there is peace and harmony with Ravenlord. As you said, Joe Stump is very down to earth. He is so much more mature, and that's something I also listen to his advice and do what he's saying, because I want to know what others think. I'm not going to make decisions over somebody's head, you know, if they're not into it.
Right.
So I consult with him and say, what do you think? Should we go ahead? And he sometimes tells stuff where I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Let's not do it the way let's not do it what I was suggesting, you know, because I'm actually very easygoing, flexible. But when somebody steps on my toes, I do get pissed off. Yes.
Oh, of course.
And we were not going to jeopardize the whole work, you know, that we did. And you know, we had a full product, and this guy is trying to take it away from us by this craziness. We were like, no way. So at the end of the day, we decided, you know what, we're going to have to get a new guy, and we're not going to put his picture there because we're not going to be playing with him, and he doesn't deserve to be on the picture, because he doesn't is not going to, we're not going to confuse the audience, the fans, with two different guitar players now, who is who and what is what. We're not going to go there, you know. We're just going to explain it in the beginning now, and some interviews, explain how things work. We wrote the credits, we gave him credits. He will get his share that was agreed on. And but other than that, he can do whatever he wants. It's Ravenlord. We're putting out the record, and we're going on tour.
I'll tell you, you know, again, I can't say it enough. It's a great album.
Thank you. Thanks.
I tell you what, let's go ahead and take us a little break, and we're gonna play a few songs. Let's see now. While we were having the technical glitch earlier, I played tracks 1 and 2 from Descent into the Underworld, and that was track 1 was The Rebel, and track 2 was Attila the Hun. And I'll play 3 more, which will be Let the Show Go On, Seal of the Cross, and Promised Land. That'll be tracks 3, 4, and 5. And then at the end of the interview, I'll go ahead and play the remainder.
Fantastic.
So here we go, metalheads. Here's some more Ravenlord, some ear candy for you. And we'll be back in just a few. Well, metalheads, we were a victim of another glitch again. But we are back here live, finally. That was Let the Show Go On, Seal of the Cross, Promised Land, and in between that long period of dead air, I went ahead and played Settle the Score. And that was some ear candy by Ravenlord. And hope you enjoyed that. I know I sure as hell did. And we're back here with Csaba.
Hello, everybody.
I'm looking at the chat room right now, Csaba, and they've got mixed emotions Well, what happened to the sound? Oh, it's back. Oh, it's gone. Oh, it's back.
The glitch thing, yeah.
It's a pain in the ass sometimes. Like I said, sometimes it works perfectly, and sometimes it does, like today. Technology is a beautiful thing.
It's the fun.
Oh, Buddy Cat loves your drummer.
Excellent. Thanks.
She said she just saw a pic of their drummer, and she's got her tongue hanging out. Now, Csaba, one thing I did want to ask you, during the songwriting process, how does that work with all the members being spread out amongst different countries? Do y'all maybe get on Skype and write that way, or do you write something and send it via email?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? What's the process like?
Yeah. Well, back in the days, you would ship like 2-inch tapes, 2-inch wheels back and forth between all these countries and whatnot, you know, and have recordings done that way. Today, thanks to the internet, we can just ship data in split seconds and have tracks and ideas, or even, as you said, with Skype or any other video conferencing, you can just call up the guy and say, hey, you know what, I have this idea. What do you think of this riff? Or what do you think of that? Or stuff like that. You can discuss it as if you would call the guy on a regular phone, or you can set up meetings. So that's how we did it. We would have talks. I would make the definition of the chord progressions or bass notes and stuff like that. What the mood, the original bass mood of the song should be approximately, and then the guitar player would come up with some riffs, and then I would eventually change it so it would fit to the melodies that I have in mind, and trim it eventually, because usually the parts are too long, and make it, I would say, Ravenlord rising. Okay, so it sounds like Ravenlord. And then we would ship these files, or usually MP3 files in the beginning, just that's good enough to listen to and say, oh, okay, so this is the idea, until we're, you know, when we say, okay, this is the definite track, then that needs to be high quality. Once that all these producers today, all these producers work that way. You send them, you don't have to go physically to the producer and sit there like in the old days. You just send them tracks, and they have specific order they want. They have a specific naming, and then they will do it. I mean, you can, if you want, you can go visit and talk to these people and say, hey, yeah, I want this and this instrument louder or whatnot. But usually it doesn't require all that stuff. So you save cost with hotels, and you save cost on time. And it's much easier today to make a record like it was back in the days, where you had to gather all these players and pay for hotel, food, and whatnot to go somewhere to have them recorded. Those days are over. Besides, everybody has his own little equipment at home where they can make very decent recordings, and should they not be sufficient, then you can say, hey, you know what, why don't you go into your nearest studio and have it recorded in a better quality and send me those files, or put them, in our case, put them on our FTP server, and then we'll take basic ideas and then work everything around it, and then once that is done, then I would do the vocals and the definite vocals, and but these are the players that you don't have to tell what they should play, except for the guitars I have to, because it was being too progressive. but I never had to tell anything to the rest of them. They were just doing just fine, and I think that is important. If you trust the bandmates of the sound, and if you can say, no, I like that what he's playing. That's why I hired the guy, right? So that's what we're doing. You know, we let people develop their style in the band Ravenlord, and that's how we become this band. So anyway, back to your question. When we have all the files, then it would go into the post-production phase where we send it to producer, who then does the final mix down. He then again creates some digital bits and bytes and sends us back the mix down files, and those we then send to Los Angeles again to another guy, also through the internet. Of course, everything, there's nothing mailed or anything today anymore.
Right.
It's all just you need a fast internet connection for all this stuff. So it will be shipped then to Los Angeles for mastering, and after that you would end up with the actual product, and you would say, "Wow, this is it, man! Now, this is it. This is the product."
Now let me ask
great
you,
feeling, by the way.
on mastering, who did y'all use, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. We used Mauer Applebaum.
Right on.
Oh yeah.
Mauer is, oh man, he is just the god of mastering. The guy, I interviewed him a year ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that. You saw? Yeah, I saw some pictures when I checked your website. Mauer is excellent. I love his philosophy. He's a very good guy. He likes to talk to his clients, and he likes to give you the option and says, "Would you like to have this? And would you like to have that?" And you can decide. And most of all, he's a guy who I've learned a lot about mastering, and especially about his philosophy. I learned a lot of tips and tricks that he told me, and that's worth something, you know. It's like, really interesting. Thank you, Mar. That is cool, man. And I'm always open for stuff like that.
You know, Maor is responsible for me doing live interviews. Because my very first interview with him, I did it, via phone, and actually no, we did it via Skype, and I was going to turn it into I used to do written interviews. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that told me, he is such a philosophical guy.
Yes.
And he's the one that told me, you can make it more conversational, and he had a great point. And that's kind of where the idea for this show came from. And I thank Maor for that, because he is just a great guy. He'll talk to anyone, anytime. He will give you tips and tricks. He'll tell you different things to do with a mix to make the mastering come out better.
And most of all, he's super professional.
Oh, he is utmost professional.
Oh yeah.
He is a super nice guy.
Yes.
And any musician that's out there in listener land that's listening in, we do have Maor's information on our website. And if you want some professional mastering done, his phone number, you go to his website, his phone number, his contact information is there. Get with him. He works with any budget, and he does a really pro job. He
does.
He did a friend of mine's band called Excommunicated, and which are from here in Baton Rouge. And oh wow, did he do a fantastic job on that album? I mean, how can you go wrong? He's done everybody. It seems like you look at his client list, and you've got Cynic, you've got Rob Halford,
you got Ravenlord.
Yeah, well, Ravenlord. Roy Z. I mean, he's got
Sepultura.
Yeah, Sepultura. I mean, he's done. Oh my God, there's so many people you can't name them all.
Yeah.
And he does any genre of music, and the dude is just incredible. You know, but whenever you were mentioning sending it to L.A. to have it mastered, I assumed that that's who you were talking about was Mahler.
Me too.
Yes, yes. You see, you don't have the actual CD. I talked to you earlier. You don't have the actual CD, the physical thing in your hand. Otherwise, you would be able to read the credits and see the nice little 16-page booklet that we've done with this great artist, Caio from Brazil, that also needs to be mentioned. I mean, this guy is like, once you see this little, it's really worth buying the CD.
Oh man, let me tell you, Csaba, we are going to
from the store, you know, just for that little book.
We are going to get it because, you know, like Buffy mentioned, you know, there's nothing like holding that booklet, seeing the artwork, smelling the booklet, you know. Everybody, it's like back when we were in school, you know, and the teachers would make that ditto sheet and everyone would smell the ditto sheet. Everybody's got to smell the booklet. I don't care who you are.
The ink.
Oh yeah, or just opening up the fresh, the wrapping paper thing of that thing. That's just, oh man, that's exciting.
It is.
It is. It's very exciting because you just can't open it quick enough.
That's right.
And they make it hard.
Oh yeah, they make it difficult on purpose. It's like Christmas every day you get a new CD. At least I think so.
That's right.
Well, Csaba, I'm about to go ahead and kind of get this one wrapped up a little bit. I do want to, let me get over here back to your page where I can throw your links back out for everyone. If the computer's going to work right. Here we go. Okay. Now, people out there in listener land that's not in the chat room, you can find Csaba and Ravenlord, of course, at Facebook.com, and you want to go /Raven-Lord. You can go to their main webpage, which is www.raven-lord.com. They have a MySpace page. You go to myspace.com /Raven-Lord. Or you can also go to www.rockandgrowl.com. That's rock, letter N, growl.com. And you can find them as well. You can go to Mausoleum Records and also find them. And, you know, Csaba, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and coming and talking with us here today at Brutiful Metal Radio. We really enjoyed having you on the show, buddy.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, my listeners out there, I want you guys and gals and whatever's in between out there to hang out because I'm going to play the rest of the album. That's going to be Descent into the Underworld. And Csaba, hang on the line with me just for a second.
Okay.
Now, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening. As always, I couldn't do this show without all of y'all being here. And we've got 5 more songs. We've got Blackfriar, World Out of Steel, Revelation, Metal Knights, and Sun God. So stick around, metalheads. We'll be jamming the rest of the day into the evenings. This has been the Bullshitting with Bob show right here on Brutiful Metal Radio. And we've been talking to vocalist Csaba from the band Ravenlord. So here's some more ear candy for you. Thank you all for tuning in. And we'll catch you on Wednesday with the next show. Keep it metal. Keep it real.
Hi, this is Csaba from the band Ravenlord, and you're listening to Bullshitting with Bob show. Yeah.